Today we are going to talk about memory, retention and forgetting. So let's start with memory. So what actually memory is? Memory is a unique capacity of an organism. It is the ability to recall past experiences in the present. Not all the experiences of an individual are stored in the mind of individuals. Only few part of experiences are stored in the mind for a certain period. If an individual become able to recall his or her past experiences, it is said to be memorized. If it is not recalled, it is said to be forgotten. Memory is the opposite process of forgetting. Forgetting is the inability to recall past experiences. On the contrary, memory is an ability of recall past experiences in present use. Memory is the ability of an individual to preserve memory traces in the mind and bring it back to present use when needed. All the memory traces are preserved in the inactive mind. Memory brings it back to the active part of the mind. It is the quality of the mind by which it records, retains and reproduces the experiences of the past in the present. In short, memory can be defined as a cognitive process whereby past experiences are remembered and brought back in the active part of mind. It is the total process of acquisition of knowledge, preserving them in the mind and reproducing them when needed. So now let's talk about types of memory. There are actually three types of memory. The first one is sensory impression, the second is short-term memory and the final one is long-term memory. So let's know what sensory impression is. It is a short duration memory. It is an impression collected by our senses from all the experiences. Sensory impression may be attended or unattended. Many of the sensory impressions are forgotten immediately. Only some of the attended experiences are stored in short-term memory store. For example, when we walk on the road, we see many people. The sensory impression of all these people are made in our brain. However, we may take attention on only few of them. In a very short time, we forget about these people. Many of them, which are unnoticed, are forgotten immediately. Such type of memory is called sensory impression. Only few portion of such memory is transferred into our memory store. And the second type of memory is short-term memory. Such memory remains for us for only a short duration in our brain. It includes instant change in environment, area of immediate focal attention, working decision, etc. It is also called working memory. It remains in our until it has some utility. This type of memory is faded out when its utility is finished. Only some part of short-term memory is transferred into our long-term memory. And the final type of memory is long-term memory. Such type of memory remains preserved in our mind for a long duration of the time. It can be recalled when it is needed. It is also known as permanent store of knowledge and skill of individuals. It contains perception, procedural memories, semantic memory, episodic memory, beliefs, concepts, etc. Procedural memory refers to the ability to remember how to perform a task or to employ a strategy. Semantic memory store fact and generalized information. It contains verbal information, concept, rules, principles and problem solving skills. Episodic memory refers to our ability to recall personal experiences from our past. So now let's talk about stages of memory, or in short, how our mind processes our memory. Memorization is a systematic process. The process of memorization begins with sensation. It is tested by the reproduction of learned behavior. The process of memorization from sensation and reproduction can be divided into 4 steps. So first step is receiving. So in this step, the senses, also known as a receptor, collect the sensory information. The main receptor of all this information are our senses related to vision, smelling, tasting, touching and hearing. And the third stage of memory is coding. After collecting the information through sensory receptor, individuals change this information in the form of code. This code may be semantic, pictorial or symbolic. By coding, the brain reduces information in the form of memory traces to store it in the brain. And the fourth stage of memory is storage. In the third stage of memorization, these memories are stored in the brain. They are stored in the form of sensory impression, short-term memory and long-term memory. In storage, memory remains in the form of code. And the final stage of memory is retrieval. It is the process of bringing back the memorized information in active mind. The individual decodes the memorized information and uses it in present situation. So now let's talk about meaning and process of retention. So retention is the process of preserving memory in the brain for a long duration of time. We can recall the memory which is retained in our brain. The ability to store memories in our brain for a long duration of time is called retention. Retention is an important element of memory. Memories are transferred into memory traces. Retention prevents this memory traces to be faded out and ascertains their use in present situation. Retention is an opposite process of forgetting. If we attempt to memorize previously learned behavior after some duration, we will find that some part is easily recalled and we will be unable to memorize its some part. The part which can be recalled is known as retained part, and the part which cannot be memorized is known as forgotten part. Retention is related to long-term memory. The ability to restore and preserve long-term memory and helping it recall as a working memory is called retention. The process of retention in the process of keeping the experiences in the mental store as a long-term memory. It needs a clear formation of memory traces and preserving it there for a long duration. Process of retention also ascertains the minimization of fading out of the memory. Such memory can be lost temporarily in an emotional situation. However, it is reproduced when the individual becomes able to control his or her emotion. The process of retention is similar to the process of memory. It begins with the acquisition of knowledge by the direct experiences of the individual. The individual changes all these knowledges into codes such as words, symbols, mental pictures, etc., and attempts to store it in the mind. The knowledge without any value is immediately faded out. Only the valuable knowledge is stored in the brain. Among all of the valuable knowledge, some may be of immediate use and it is stored in short-term memory. It is faded out later after its use. Only that knowledge which is of greater value and according to the need and interest of the learners is stored in the long-term memory. All the knowledge stored in long-term memory does not remain intact for a long duration. It erodes continuously. This erosion of retained knowledge is directly related to its complexity, amount, utility, interest, desire of the learner, etc. The part of knowledge which remains intact for a long duration is known as retained knowledge. So this retention can be measured in various ways. Some of them are reproduction, relearning and saving, recognition, and reconstruction. So let's talk about reproduction first. The ratio between reproduced knowledge and learned knowledge is used to measure the amount of memory. So we can also measure the retention of a learner by relearning and saving method. In the saving, it is the saving of time for learning in repeated trial. For example, if an individual takes 10 minutes to do a task and in repeated trial he or she takes 7 minutes, therefore his or her saving is 30%. And let's talk about recognition. It is the ability of the learners to recognize the things which they have learned sometime before. Retention is measured by the amount of recognition also. And the final one is reconstruction. In this method, learners learn materials in a serial order and then these materials are shuffled. The learners is required to rearrange them in original order. So what are the factors that affects our memory and retention? First is characteristics of learners. Characteristics include age, sex, interest, ability. So now first of all, let's talk about age. Retention is directly affected by age. According to Michael Young, ability to retain is increased by the age. It reaches its peak in about 25 years of age. It remains constant up to the age of 35. Slowly it begins to decrease. The retention capacity of the old people is less than an adolescent. And the next characteristic is sex. Although sex has no any specific relationship with the capacity of retention, the retention capacity of male and female is directly affected by their areas of interest, such as males may have more interest in politics, female express more interest in fashion. This is also termed as cultural effect. And the third characteristic is interest. If a person has interest in a specific area of learning, he or she retains this learning for a long time. For example, a student having interest in literature can retain the memory of a poem for a long time. And the final characteristics that affect our memory and retention is ability. There are individual differences in the individuals about the ability of retention. Some are sharp learners and can retain learning of some subjects matter for a long time in comparison to others. Retention is also a part of intelligence which may differ from person to person. Second factor that affect the memory and retention is characteristics of learning materials. This includes 3 points. First is amount of learning materials, and the second is utility, and third is complexity. So let's talk about amount of learning materials. If the amount of learned material is large, it is difficult to retain it for a long time. If it is comparatively less, it can be retained for a long duration of time. Second is utility. Utility of learned material has a direct relationship with retention. Individuals willingly try to retain those metals which are useful to them. And the final is complexity. Complexity of learning material directly affects the ability for its retention. Complex metals are likely to be more difficult to retain in comparison to simple materials. And the third factor affecting memories and retention is process of learning. Process of learning includes 5 points. First is massed and disturbed learning. Second is whole versus part learning. Third is meaningful versus rote learning. Fourth is complete versus incomplete learning, and fifth is learning by using mnemonics. So let's talk about massed and disturbed learning. So massed learning is the process in which learning tasks are repeated until they are not completely learned. Disturbed learning is repeating learning after a regular space of time. Massed learning develops clear concept, where disturbed learning increase retention. Now let's talk about whole versus part learning. Learning by dividing a large learning task into component part, and when the part are completely mastered, learning them in whole increases its ability to be retained. And meaningful versus rote learning. Materials learned by rote memorization are less retained than the materials learned by meaningful way. So complete versus incomplete learning. If learning is incomplete or the learner has not mastered it, it is not retained. Complete learning is retained for a long time. Learning by using mnemonics. Systematic strategies for strengthening long-term retention and retrieval of information are referred to as mnemonics strategies. In this process, learned material is linked with a symbol to increase its retention, such as learning the order of mathematical operation by using the acronym BODMAS, BODMAS, bracket of divide, multiply, subtract and add. So now our final concept, which is the concept of forgetting. So forgetting is the inability to recall past memories in the present situation. The most frequent reason for forgetting is the difficulty in transferring learned behavior from working memory to long-term memory. In addition, we can forget because of our inability to recall information that it is in the long-term memory. In our daily life, we come across many experiences. Some of these experiences are not noticed seriously and they vanish immediately. Some of them are stored in our brain. After some time, if we try to remember these experiences, we may be able to recall only some portion of it and other parts disappear. This disappeared part is known as forgotten part, and the process related to vanishing the learned experiences is called forgetting. Forgetting is the opposite process of retention. If we try to recall our past memories which we have learned, we will be unable to recall all memories. Some memories are recalled, this is called retention. Some memories cannot be recalled, this is called forgetting. The process of forgetting can be classified into 4 types. The first is fading, second is blocking or interference, third is suppression, and the final one is distortion. Let's talk about fading first. It occurs when we can no longer recall information from our memory because of disuse. In short-term memory, fading can occur very rapidly, in some cases after just a few seconds. When information fades from working memory, it disappears because the short-term space is needed for another incoming information. We can prevent this type of fading by continuing to focus attention on the information, by constantly rehearsing it, or by transferring it to long-term memory. Once information has transferred to long-term memory, most theories believe that it is stored there permanently. When information fades from long-term memory, it really fades the link. That is, we cannot find a way to retrieve it to memorize. We can prevent this kind of fading by encoding the information as meaningfully as possible, by frequently retrieving it, by actively restoring it whenever we do retrieve it, and by using effective search strategies. And let's come to second process of forgetting, which is blocking or interference. It occurs when information gets confused with all information in our long-term memory. When the external or internal causes hinder the recalling of an event, it is called interference. For example, inability to recall in emotional condition. Interference can occur either retroactively or proactively. Retroactive interference occurs when information works backward to interfere with earlier information. Learning of a particular thing can be mixed up with the learning happened after it. It can produce retroactive interference. Proactive interference occurs when current information is lost because it is mixed up with previously learned similar information. So the third step in the process of forgetting is suppression. This is based on Freudian psychotherapy that refers to the subconscious urge from within our personalities to eliminate unpleasant or threatening information from our memories. For example, an adolescent who has been abused as a child may be unable to recall specific instances of abuse, even though these were numerous, because he or she had suppressed them. And the final step in the process of forgetting is distortion. Distortion refers to the misinterpretation of information that occurs when an imperfect image is recalled from long-term memory. We may be unable to recall all the learning clearly and cannot utilize it in present situation. It is not really a separate type of forgetting, but rather a combination of previous three types. So there are various theories of forgetting. So let's discuss about it. And the first theory related to forgetting is theory of decay or disuse. According to this theory, forgetting takes place due to decay or deuse. If something learned is not used over a long duration of time, its memory traces are faded out and we become unable to recall it in present situation. And second theory is theories of interference. Forgetting occurs when memories of the same type interfere each other. It is also the inability of recalling past memories because of interfering condition of present time. For example, inability to recall in emotional condition. And the final theory is psychoanalytic theory. According to psychoanalytic theory presented by Sigmund Freud, forgetting also occurs due to the lack of desire of the individual to remember past memories. Human brain actively suppresses the unpresent memories and such memories are forgotten. Let's talk about the techniques for improving memory and minimizing forgetting. Memory is a very important factor of learning. It is needed for two purposes. First, to apply the learned behavior when it is needed, and the second, to prepare a knowledge base for further learning. That's why maximum importance is given on memorization process in teaching and learning. Individuals differ in relation to their ability to memorize learned behavior. However, by the use of correct technique, one can improve one's ability of memorization. So now let's talk about some techniques for improving memory. The first is use of appropriate practice technique. Practice is a most needed process for the improvement of memory. It brings the learning up to the level of automation. For this purpose, mass practice is very much needed. It means one should practice until the learning reaches up to the level of automation. When the learning has reached the position of automation, spaced practice is needed. It keeps the learning always refreshed and ready to use. Second technique for improving memory is building an organized knowledge base. All the learned knowledge should be based on an organized knowledge base. None of the knowledge can be retained for long duration in the isolation. It should be logically related to the existing knowledge base. Such types of structured knowledge increases the capability of retention. For example, if it is that pronoun is the word which is used instead of noun and it indicates a general thing rather than a particular thing, the student will memorize it more readily. And the third technique is relating new knowledge to existing knowledge. Each new learning should be based on past learning. It not only refreshes the past learning, it makes the new learning more meaningful. It is very much effective when the teacher teaches new knowledge by transferring old knowledge. For example, if you are attempting to teach about driving a motorcycle, the learner's knowledge about driving a cycle will be very much useful. Using symbols. If we use a symbol or acronyms, it will be very useful for memorizing the learned knowledge for a long duration. For example, the acronym BIBGYOR is very useful to memorize 7 colors in spectrum. And the next is clear understanding. Clear understanding or mastery over learning tasks is an effective method of increasing retention and decreasing forgetting. The learner must have clear understanding about the knowledge learned. Therefore, it is rightly said, I remember what I do. This will be clarified about knowledge being learned. It is better if they learn it directly or learning by doing. As the understanding is clearer, memory traces become stronger. It increases the perception of learned material, unlimitedly increases retention.